Chapter 7, No Nancy Drews. An slept over on Friday night, and as soon as the parents were asleep, Dana and An limboed under the crisscross barriers into the secret chamber, of course, right? Mm-hmm. Just like you would do, all of you? Mm-hmm. Or not?
No.
They wore mittens and socks so they'd leave no fingerprints or footprints. Dana carried a pen light that cast a circle of light no bigger than a ping pong ball. The plug of the light matched An's crawling along the walls under the cots looking for anything the police might have missed. An flipped the thin straw mattresses, sending up a cloud of dust that made her sneeze. "Sneeze quietly," Dana hissed. "I wonder what this pottery thing is for." "Chamber pot," An said simply. "In my country, everyone keeps one by the bed in case you have to go in the middle of the night." "But it's empty." "It's had 135 years to dry up. Gross." They looked for buttons that might have popped off a shirt or a hairpin or earring. Nothing but dust and crumbs of decayed fabric. "This is very discouraging," An said, twisting her long black hair into a rope. "There isn't a single clue." "I know." Dana sat in the center of the room, leaning against the cot where Elvira had lain. The penlight darted around the room like a scared rat. Maybe there were rats in this room. Nancy Drew would have turned up something. "Who's that?" "Did she go to your elementary school?" asked An. "Oh, I forget you haven't been here forever. Nancy's a hotshot teenage detective. I've read about 80 Nancy Drew mysteries." "Oh, yes, while I was sailing across the world," An said, as the whole Horde experience had been a merry adventure. Actually, she had been the only one left to bury her parents in the village outside Saigon. Then she had come across the water in the bottom of a boat that wasn't very seaworthy to join her 2 brothers and 2 sisters. In fact, it was very much the way the Africans had come to the New World in the 1600s and 1800s. Only An had come by choice. "I guess we're no Nancy Drews," An said. "Shh, you hear something?" Dana turned out the penlight and put her ear to the wall. "Footsteps!" They slid under the cot, breathing years of dust and mold, splintered wood. The parlor door opened and there was a huge shadow in the backlight of the hall. "Is anybody there?" asked Dana's father. She was tempted to whimper, "No." And then her mother slipped into the room in a flowing red kimono. "Jeffrey, don't tell me the girls are in here with the roosters." "Oh, I'm sure they're not," Dana's father said, and then he pronounced each word in a precise, menacing way because they know it would be against the law. "And the police would nab them and ship them off to Leavenworth," her mother said, picking up on the game. "And next thing you know, they'd be starring in the sequel to Women in Chains." "Well, let's close the door and go back to sleep," Dr. Shannon said, and the girls heard a loud banging of the door and an exaggerated tramping around in the hall, and then another door slamming. "Don't be fooled. They're still out there," Dana whispered. "I'm used to waiting in the dark," An replied. They barely breathed. In that absolute blackness of the room where Elvira had died, time passed, at least 20 endless minutes. There wasn't a sound in the hall. "I think it's safe now," Dana whispered. "Let's sneak back to my room." They slowly slid out from under the cots and shimmied under the plastic barricade, tiptoed across the wine-spill carpet. Dana turned the doorknob ever so slowly, not a squeak. The hall was black as the Wakarusa River. Suddenly, An stumbled over something. "A body!" she gasped. "Dana!" Then Dana put her foot on something soft and squishy and pulled it back. She flipped on the penlight. 2 bodies lay sprawled across the floor, her mom in the red kimono and her dad in his Mickey Mouse boxers. What? Her father bolted up and groped for the lamp switch nearby. "What's going on?" "It's the escape of the women in chains," Dana said, and she and An scurried into her room and locked the door. They heard Dana's mother mutter, "We might as well go to bed, Jeffrey. We've been bamboozled." Later, when they were through giggling and were debating about chancing it down to the kitchen for some Doritos and bean dip, An turned serious. "I really wish we were able to find a clue in there." "An?" Dana felt around under her bed for a little black journal. "Look what I have." An caught her breath as she read the title page. "You found this in there?" "Last week." Who's Millicent Weaver? The lady who owned this house, I think, when Elvira was here. The murderer? Anne asked, her eyes wide. I don't think so. She helped slaves escape. Listen to this. May 7th, 1856. A man came to her door in the middle of the night. It's a wonder I heard him. He was bent and old. I thought maybe 70. But these Negroes age fast, what with the lives they've had. He'd been walking 6 nights and was half delirious, afraid to ask directions. He saw my flag and thought he knew what it meant. But by the time he'd found our door, he no longer cared if he'd been captured and sent back. I made a pallet for him on the floor in front of the dying embers of the fire. He hadn't the energy to eat. I broke bread into little pieces and placed them on his tongue, as the Catholics do communion wafers. I held his head so he could drink some warm chamomile tea, and that's when I saw the strange markings on his ears. They'd notched him like a hog, dear Lord, so his master could always claim him. Oh, Dana, Anne cried, such a thing, even in this country?